Welcome to the Kelly Healing Project, where we have real conversations about healing, growth, and stepping into your power. I'm Kelly, and I'm so glad you are here. So today, I want to talk about something that completely changed the way I look at healing. It's the realization that you have a choice. Not that every choice is easy, not that healing happens overnight, not that trauma magically disappears, but no matter what you've experienced or what you've been through, you don't have to remain a slave to your old patterns, beliefs, or habits forever. And that realization is incredibly empowering. One of the biggest misconceptions that I see is that people begin to believe their patterns are simply who they are. Maybe you caught yourself saying, I'm just anxious. I'm a people pleaser. I'm terrible with money. I always end up in unhealthy relationships. That's just the way that I am. But here's what I've learned. Those aren't your identity. They're patterns. They're coping strategies. They're beliefs your brain and nervous system learned because at one point they helped you survive. But surviving and thriving are two very different things. The strategies that once protect you may now keep you stuck. And one of the most eye-opening things I have learned is that your nervous system isn't trying to make you happy. It's trying to keep you safe. The problem is your nervous system often mistakes familiar for safe. If you grew up walking on eggshells, peace might actually feel uncomfortable. If you learned to love by taking care of everyone else, setting boundaries can feel wrong. If you grew up believing your voice didn't matter, speaking up can feel terrifying. That simply doesn't mean those old patterns are who you are. It simply means your nervous system is operating from an old survival blueprint. The beautiful thing is that blueprints can be rewritten. Healing isn't about becoming a completely different person overnight. It's about recognizing the moments where you actually have a choice. You can choose to pause before reacting. You can choose to notice your inner critic instead of believing it. You can choose to say no without feeling guilty. You can choose to rest instead of constantly proving your worth. You can choose to ask, what do I actually want? Those small choices may not seem life-changing in the moment, but over time, they completely change your life. One of my favorite things about healing is realizing that it doesn't stop with us. Every healthy choice we make creates a ripple effect. Maybe your family avoided difficult conversations. You choose honesty. Maybe your family believed emotions should be ignored. You choose emotional awareness. Maybe everyone sacrificed themselves for everyone. You choose healthy boundaries. Every time you choose different, you're creating a new path, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. Healing isn't just personal, it's generational. Sometimes what keeps us stuck isn't our circumstances, it's the story we've been telling ourselves. Maybe it's, I'm not enough. I'll never change. I'm too much. People always leave. Success isn't for everyone like me. But here's a question I come back to often. Who taught me that? And perhaps even more importantly, is that actually true? Not every thought deserves to become a belief. And not every belief deserves to shape your future. We often wait for one huge breakthrough, one life-changing moment, one perfect opportunity, but healing always doesn't happen that way. It's built through hundreds, even thousands of small decisions, one healthy boundary, one therapy session, one walk, one difficult conversation, one act of self-compassion, one new belief. Every one of those choices sends your brain and your nervous system a new message. We're safe now. We don't have to live this way anymore. And that's how transformation begins. When I look back on my own healing journey, I realized I spent years believing I didn't have a choice. I believed I had to make everyone happy. I believed I had to make myself smaller. I believed my worth came from taking care of everyone else. Healing doesn't happen because one day I suddenly became confident. It happened because I started making one different choice at a time. And eventually those choices became who I am today. And so many people believe that they are just a slave to their circumstances. But every single day you have a choice. And just because somebody treats you badly doesn't necessarily mean that even has to have an effect on you. You literally give them your power if you let it affect you. Why are y'all giving away your power? And this comes from a lot of things, and this was just a message that came to me this morning, and I was like, okay, I need a podcast about it. Because I feel like so many people, they don't do the work on themselves, and they stay in their own habits, and then it's almost like, too, they become jealous and so focused on everybody else, or even other people that are actually, just doing the damn thing, and actually decide to grab the bull by the horns and actually decide that they are actually the creator of their life. And so they actually, they realize that they can manifest anything, that they can create anything, that they don't have to let things control them, that they have the power. And other people see that, and I'm sure that can be very triggering. But y'all are giving that person power over you. Stop doing that. Become more focused on yourself and where you're going. Just because you've experienced something in the past, just because maybe you had a rough childhood, doesn't mean that shit has to affect you anymore. You have a choice every single day. And is it hard? Hell yeah, sometimes it's hard. Because you become so used to that. Your nervous system, it's what's familiar. Hey, this is a belief system we've always had. We've always had a belief system that, people are going to hurt us or whatever. That's not always true. Just because you have beliefs doesn't mean that they are true. And just because you have thoughts doesn't necessarily mean all those thoughts that pop in your head are true, or even that they are yours. You have a choice every single day, and you can decide how you want your life to go and how you want your life to look in the future. You have power. And I think so many people disempower themselves. And I did a whole series on talking about reclaiming your power. And I sure hope that people out there will reclaim their power. Because the thing, too, is that healed people heal other people. Empowered people empower other people. Some people say hurt people can hurt people, but, that's true to a sense if you decide to let that hurt take over and you decide to project that stuff outward instead of taking it inward and deciding to go and heal it and to not let it be your identity and not let it take a hold of you. But you have a choice every single day. So what are you going to do with it? Every single day you wake up, it's a fresh start. You have a fresh start in this thing called life. God woke you up this morning, and what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that gift? Are you going to sit around complaining about how your life never changes? How, oh my gosh, I don't like my job, but I'm too afraid to leave because, I don't think I have enough. Okay. If you're going to bitch about something, don't complain about something that you're not even willing to change. Nobody's going to want to listen to that. Nobody's going to want to listen to that. I am so sick. I don't like that either. I don't like hearing people just complain about shit that they're not even willing to change. Why are you fucking wasting? Because deep down, what it really is that you have a belief system that you can't do it. That basically you feel like, oh my gosh, if I take that leap of faith, that's going to be scary. Yeah, so wasting years on your life of someplace in a place that you don't like and letting that shit overtake you in your mind, that's okay. But whatever, at the end of the day, everybody has free will. And if you want to stay there and you want to disempower yourself for the rest of your life, then you go fucking do it. But don't expect everyone to want to be around you and to hear you just bitch about everything. I think that, sorry for the language, guys. Sometimes I get fired up on these conversations, but at the end of the day, you have a choice, and you can choose how you view life, the belief systems that you had. And just because, oh, well, my parents were this way, so that's why I'm this way. No, it doesn't have to be, unless you decide that's the way that you want your life to be. I would think that would be a boring life. If I lived a life where I stayed the same all the time, and I lived in my, just of other, oh my God, I could not even picture it. Oh my God, that would be horrible. The thing about me is I'm constantly improving. I'm always going to the next goal. I'm always, I'm journaling, I'm writing, I'm working through even things that pop up, and I'm like, is that normal, or is that the way that I want my life to be? You know what? I'm not sure about that. Let me journal it. And, I'm waking up to how much incredible power that we have as human beings, and a lot of people don't even realize this. But whatever. You do you. Because people will label, I don't know. I'm not going to get too into that, but yeah, you have power, and I'm always constantly evolving and growing. I tend to outgrow environments very quick, and I know this, as long as I don't hold myself back. But sometimes I'll be in environments and I'll hold myself back, and I'll not realize it, and then I'll be like, wait a minute, So, but if you're not growing and evolving, don't be afraid if some people who are actually growing and evolving actually leave you behind in the dust. Don't be hating because we're actually doing something with this thing called life. We're not mindlessly scrolling and completely forgetting trying to forget our problems instead of actually growing enough balls and actually doing something about it. This may be a little bit of tough love that maybe some people need, but, if you have a problem, do something about it. Well, it feels uncomfortable. Yeah, sometimes if something is new or you've been in an environment for so long, yeah, it can feel like, oh my God, what is that? Take the leap of faith. Just do it. Do it and go after your goals. Go after your dreams, because at the end of the day, you have a choice. So what are you choosing? What are you choosing? And are you happy with what you're choosing? And a lot of this, it involves taking responsibility for where you've been and not beating yourself up over it, but taking accountability and saying, you know what? I see now that I am the creator of my own world, and I need to stop giving my power away and start blaming maybe my parents for my upbringing, and actually going after life and actually healing it and starting to enjoy life, because that's the way life is meant to be enjoyed. It is. And so many people are walking around, y'all are not enjoying life, and I can tell. But literally, you are the creator of your own life. But you do what you want with that information. You can take it and you can use something with it, or you could just brush it off and you could just go back to your same old patterns because you're terrified of how scary change is. Yeah, change is scary, but I'm sure as hell more scared of actually staying the same, because that life would suck. Just saying. That is not me. If I'm not constantly evolving and changing, even though no matter how scary it is, I'm not growing. I need to keep growing. If you would have met me even, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, I feel like I'm a completely different person. Although I've always been very happy, upbeat. That's just me. I have really good energy. I always look at the positive situations, even though I knew I was going through that shitty situation, with my, and it hurt and it was so painful. I always knew that I would come out the other side, and guess what I always did? Because also too, you are manifestors, guys. Whatever meaning and stuff that you give it, if you say, oh, well, this came to break me and this is just what, okay, don't be surprised. You literally attract things to you. If you're looking for reasons to worry, life will give you more reasons to worry. The universe supports you unconditionally in whatever you believe. So if you believe that, oh my God, something's always coming along to take what I've built so hard or to make, then don't be surprised when the universe will give you more of that. But if you look at life and you say, God, life's amazing. The universe just supports me unconditionally. Everything is so easy for me. Money just flows to me. I get paid for whatever. Then don't be surprised when we're over here living our best life. And because we see that. We figured it out. We see it. And we've tried to tell you, but you still don't believe us. But whatever. I got off on a little tangent. Sorry about that, guys. But so today, I want to leave you with one question. Where in your life have you convinced yourself that you don't have a choice? Maybe when you actually do. Maybe the choice isn't easy. Maybe your nervous system still wants to choose what's familiar. But awareness creates possibility. And every time you choose differently, you're reminding yourself that your past doesn't have to dictate your future. For this week, I want to challenge you to make one different choice. It doesn't have to be a huge decision. Maybe it's resting without guilt, speaking kindly to yourself, taking that first step, setting one boundary, applying for something you've been afraid to pursue, or simply choosing to believe. That change is possible because healing isn't built on one life-changing moment. It's built on thousands of small choices that eventually become your new way of living. Thank you so much for listening to the Kelly Healing Project. Remember that healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about reconnecting with who you truly are. Healing the past, empowering your future. If you'd like to connect further, you can visit me at thekellyhealingproject.com or email me at thekellyhealingproject@gmail.com. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Take care. Bye.